Carefully, so the reading today in Deuteronomy. I've been waiting for this chapter. I wait for all of them. 31. We got 1 minute. Y'all, Passover is coming up quickly. Time to start getting all that leaven out the house. LeVon, good morning. Belinda Brown. Good morning, beautiful. All right, y'all. 7:15, right on the dot. I think we are ready to roll here. All right. Oh, wrong button. Sorry, I had to prep ready, but I still hit the wrong button. Nope. Okay. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and do the shimmer here. Wrong button. All right, y'all. Got time to start getting that leaven out the house, so you're not waiting till the last moment. Don't do like we did last year. Wait till the last moment to do it, y'all. It's gonna be, especially if you have a lot of leaven or yeast products in your house. Just start early. Go check everything a little bit day by day. Before you know it, you'll have it all out. All right, y'all. So the shimmer is found. Thailand. Good morning. That's Wabu here. Therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, He is one God, and you shall love Yahuwah your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them on the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that He might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our God, as He has commanded us. Shalom, shalom. All right, beautiful people. So we are in Deuteronomy. Oh, yeah. Good info, wasn't it, Thailand? You watched the video about turkey yesterday. I posted in the group. Uncle Nathaniel had asked for some resources. So there was I looked it up a while ago, y'all, but I had already stopped eating meat anyway. This is my personal preference because of how my body was reacting to it. And I tested it. You know, I stopped eating meat for a little bit, then I started eating fish again. Even fish, it causes your body to slow down, of course, because it takes more energy and stuff to break that food down. But I also began to realize that even some issues that I was having with my body, woman type issues and stuff, it was because of the meat that was flowing through my body. So at that point, when I realized that, I'm like, no more for me. Other people may still choose to eat meat, and that's okay. That's okay. But as for me and my body, we don't. Okay, y'all. So, but okay. Let me adjust this. Okay, y'all. Yeah, so that's what she was talking about. She said she watched that video. It was really good. They actually gave some information about chicken too. Trina, hey girl, hey. All right, so I posted it. I think, did I post it? I may not have posted on YouTube. I'll go back and I'll double check it. I don't remember. I think I just put it in the comment section of Facebook. Yeah, I still developed a major illness that was linked to eating chicken. And a lot of people do have y'all. I know I posted this before. I'm gonna look. Y'all heard of Dr. Klapper? Dr. Klapper, Dr. Michael Klapper was he still is a practicing physician, but he moved from like traditional medicine over to, and I remember, I know I told you about this because I can remember me saying and explaining this part about the guy when they tested his blood. He was coming to get a checkup. And he moved from the traditional medicine over to holistic because as he was paying attention, he began to notice some stuff. And this one particular gentleman just really kind of set it off for him before he came to his doctor's appointment to get his checkup, because he was having all kind of health issues going on. And of course, first thing they always do, they draw blood, they check your blood. But in the process of them drawing the blood and that sitting the weight, they looked at the blood as it was about to be taken to the lab. They looked at it, and yeah, Trina, okay, you remember, and all the fat that was in his, like when you eat, stuff goes right to your bloodstream. And if you draw your blood after you eat a real greasy meal or even animal products, you can actually see it in your blood. And that's what they saw. And he said, "Sir, what did you eat before you came here?" He had stopped at Wendy's, double size, triple size, biggest size, all whatever it was. He got the super size version of it. He had eaten a burger with the extra stuff on it. It was like it had 2 meat patties on it, drunk soda, all that stuff. But anyway, he saw the fat from all what he had eaten in the blood, and it was separating from the blood, and it began to just harden up right there. And he said that really caught his attention, and from that point he really started looking into it more, and that's how he found out. That's how arteries get clogged and stuff, right? So all these people with these different heart issues and stuff going on, having heart attacks, these blockages, it comes from what you eat. And some people know, some people still choose to do it, but based on how your body treats you, your body treats you how you treat it. If it start acting up, it's because you acting up. But once he realized that, they began to do tests and more research and different things like that. But what they also realized was, although traditional medicine will put you on traditional types of medicine and pharmaceuticals, is really not needed. It's really not needed. All you really need to do is change your lifestyle, even with the block. Now, if you like 95, if you like in the 90s, I would even venture to say the 80s. If you got arteries and stuff that's above 80% clogged, some people may need to take a pharmaceutical or something just to kind of keep you here on earth until you can begin attacking that. But I would simultaneously begin eating like a whole fruits, a plant-based diet, because what he realized was, he said that can reverse itself, where traditional doctors, they won't tell you that because they'd rather push the drugs to you. And some of them, they truly don't know because they don't study in that area. You don't know what you don't study, what you don't focus on and spend time looking into. So what they spend time and looking into is pharmaceuticals, medicine, right? Not all of them, but y'all get what I'm saying. But what it does, it can reverse itself. Anything that you've done to the body can be reversed for the most part, I'd say. For the most part, at least I'd say, let's say 98% of the things, unless it's trauma or outside trauma or something has been cut off, then you need a miracle from heaven to have that grow back, like really. But there are things that we can do within our own power that can reverse that. Heart disease, all that stuff can be reversed by going to a plant-based diet. And that video was like 58 minutes long. I posted here, Dr. Michael Klapper. It's called A Diet for All Reasons. And he goes into it, and the point of me bringing that up was Tylane said she still developed major illness that was linked to eating chicken. When I found out, he goes and tell you about a health inspector that he inspects the meat manufacturing places and stuff like that. And so somebody did an interview with him about what he saw and what the FDA allows, and they allow some disgusting stuff that you probably yourself would not allow, but for the sake of it being mass produced, and they allow certain things, which is really disgusting. Just like with milk, they allow certain amounts of pus to stay in your milk even when they're manufacturing. Was that the video about the doctor? Yeah, Tylane. Yeah, A Diet for All Reasons. Yeah, Dr. Michael Klapper. But even the health inspector, he said, my word of advice is, He said, don't eat chicken. Matter of fact, he said, don't eat meat, period. And that was a health inspector who himself, by being a meat inspector, going inspecting all of these things and the nature of his job, learning about this stuff, he completely stopped eating meat. And then he began to give reasons why, based on his own experience and what he's seen. And but some people, they want to eat it, they want to grow their own grass. Okay, that's fine. But yeah, I brought that up because what Tylane has said, it is a lot of things that can be tracked back to eating meat products or whatever. I mean, you really can, if you want to. The body will process it, but if you're consuming a lot of it on a day-to-day basis, it's gonna begin to wear its hair on the body, So it's your choice. Do your research and you choose. It's your choice, Don't let anybody make you feel bad if you do it, if you don't, right? Okay, so all right, y'all. So let's start today. We just read the Shema. So we are in Deuteronomy 16, 17, and 18. All right, y'all. Passover and the festival of unleavened bread is coming up, y'all. Okay. All right. Okay. Deuteronomy chapter 16. In honor of Yahuwah your God, celebrate Passover each year in the early spring, in the month of Abib, for that was the month in which Yahuwah your God brought you out of Egypt by night. Your Passover sacrifice may be from either the flock or the herd, and it must be sacrificed to Yahuwah your God at the designated place of worship, the place he chooses for his name to be honored. Eat it with the bread made without yeast. For 7 days, the bread you eat must be made without yeast, as when you escaped from Egypt in such a hurry. Eat this bread, the bread of suffering, so that as long as you live, you will remember the day you departed from Egypt. Let no yeast be found in any house throughout your land for those 7 days. And when you sacrifice the Passover lamb on the evening of the first day, do not let any of the meat remain until the next morning. You may not sacrifice the Passover in just any of the towns that Yahuwah your God is giving you. You must offer it only at the designated place of worship, the place Yahuwah your God chooses for his name to be honored. Sacrifice it there in the evening as the sun goes down on the anniversary of your exodus from Egypt. Roast the lamb and eat it in the place where Yahuwah your God chooses. Then you may go back to your tents in the morning. For the next 6 days, you may not eat any bread made without yeast. For the next 6 days, you may not eat bread made with yeast. On the 7th day, proclaim another holy day in honor of Yahuwah your God, and no work may be done on that day. Count off 7 weeks from when you first began to cut grain at the time of harvest. Then celebrate the festival of harvest to honor Yahuwah your God. Bring him a voluntary offering in proportion to the blessings you have received from him. This is the time to celebrate before Yahuwah your God at the designated place that he will choose for his name to be honored. You see how much Yahuwah is talking about his very own name and celebrating his name and doing everything in his name, where he puts his name. Okay, we're not gonna beat the dead horse today, but I just want to keep celebrate with your sons and daughters, your male and female servants, the Levites from your towns, and the foreigners, orphans, and widows who live among you. Remember that you were once slaves in Egypt, so be careful to obey all these decrees. You must observe the festival of shelters, or booths, or Sukkot, or Sukkot, or tents, the Feast of Tabernacles. You must observe the Feast of Shelters for 7 days at the end of the harvest season, after the grain has been threshed and the grapes have been pressed. This festival will be a happy time of celebrating with your sons and daughters, your male and female servants, and the Levites, foreigners, orphans, and widows from your towns. For 7 days you must celebrate this festival to honor Yahuwah your God at the place he chooses For it is he who blesses you with bountiful harvest and gives you success in all your work. This festival will be a time of great joy for all. Each year, every man in Israel must celebrate these three festivals: the festival of unleavened bread, the festival of the harvest, and the festival of shelters. On each of these occasions, all men must appear before Yahuwah your God at the place he chooses, but they must not appear before him without a gift for him. All must give as they are able, according to the blessings given to them by Yahuwah your God. Appoint judges and officials for yourselves from each of your tribes and all the towns Yahuwah your God is giving you. They must judge people fairly. You must never twist justice or show partiality. Never accept a bribe, for bribes blind the eyes of the wise and corrupt the decisions of the godly. Let true justice prevail so that you may live and occupy the land that Yahuwah your God is giving you. You must never set up a wooden Asherah pole beside your altar you build for Yahuwah your God, and never set up sacred pillars for worship, for Yahuwah your God hates them. All right, y'all, Deuteronomy chapter 17. Okay. This is a good chapter, y'all. Listen to this. It's talking about, we're going to get to the kings too, and what the kings should do. Never sacrifice sick or defective cattle, sheep, or goats to Yahuwah your God, for he detests such gifts. When you begin living in a town Yahuwah your God is giving you, a man or a woman might do evil in the sight of Yahuwah your God and violate the covenant. For instance, they might serve other gods or worship the sun, the moon, or any of the stars, the forces of heaven, which I have strictly forbidden. When you hear about it, investigate the matter thoroughly. If it is true that this detestable thing has been done in Israel, then the man or the woman who has committed such evil then the man or woman who has committed such an evil act must be taken to the gates of the town and stoned to death. But never put a person to death on the testimony of only one witness. There must always be 2 or 3 witnesses. The witnesses must throw the first stones, then all the people may join in. In this way, you will purge the evil from among you. That's that public flogging right there, y'all. Suppose a case arises in a local court that is too hard for you to decide. For instance, whether someone is guilty of murder or only of manslaughter, or a difficult lawsuit, or a case involving different kinds of assault. Take such legal cases to the place Yahuwah your God will choose and present them to the Levitical priest or to the judge on duty at that time. He will hear the case and declare the verdict. You must carry out the verdict they announce and sentence the You must carry out the verdict they announce and the sentence they prescribe at the place where Yahuwah your God chooses. You must do exactly what they say. After they have interpreted the law and declared their verdict, the sentence they impose must be fully executed. Do not modify it in any way. Anyone arrogant enough to reject the verdict of the judge or of the priest who represents Yahuwah your God must die. In this way, you will purge the evil from Israel. Then everyone else will hear about it and be afraid to act so arrogantly. There you go. Yahuwah even say, put it in different words. All it takes is one good public flogging, and everybody else will fall in line. I'm going to read again. Then everyone else will hear about it and be afraid to act so arrogantly. The guidelines for a king. You are about to enter the land Yahuwah your God is giving you. When you take it over and settle there, you may think we should select a king to rule over us like the other nations around us. If this happens, be sure to select a king, If this happens, be sure to select as king the man Yahuwah your God chooses. You must appoint a fellow Israelite. he may not be a foreigner. The king himself must not build up a large stable of horses for himself or send his people to Egypt to buy horses. For Yahuwah has told you, you must never return to Egypt. The king must not, and here's what a lot of our people waking up, men, they not realize it because they don't read it. They just listen to the leaven that's been passed through the generations, but they're not willing to look at what Yahuwah says himself. The king must not take many wives for himself, because they will turn his heart away from Yahuwah. And he must not accumulate large amounts of wealth in silver and in gold for himself. When he sits on his throne as a king, he must copy for himself this body of instruction on a scroll in the presence of the Levitical priest. He must always keep that copy with him and read it daily as long as he lives. That way, he will learn to fear Yahuwah his God by obeying all these terms of the instructions and decrees. This regular reading will prevent him from becoming proud and acting as if he is above his fellow citizens. It will also prevent him from turning away from these commands in the smallest way, and it will ensure that he and his descendants will reign for many generations in Israel. All right, y'all. That was self-explanatory. I don't really need to say any more about that. Last chapter for today in Deuteronomy chapter 18, because we know that's how King Solomon got in trouble, right? Deuteronomy chapter 18. Remember that the Levitical priests, that is, the whole of the tribe of Levi, will receive no allotment of land among the other tribes in Israel. Instead, the priests and the Levites will eat from the special gifts given to Yahuwah, for that is their share. They will have no land of their own among the Israelites. Yahuwah himself is their special possession, just as he promised them. These are the parts the priests may claim as their share from the cattle, sheep, and goats that the people bring as offering: the shoulder, the cheeks, and the stomach. You must also give to the priest the first share of the grain, the new wine, the olive oil, and the wool at shearing time. For Yahuwah your God chose the tribe of Levi out of all your tribes to minister in Yahuwah's name forever. Like, that ain't up until a certain time and we're going to put somebody else over here and minister in Yahuwah's name forever. That's through all the generations, even to the generations that began over 2,000 years ago up to this day. That still includes all of forever. Read that again. He may minister there in the name of Yahuwah, his God, just like all his fellow Levites who are serving Yahuwah there. He may eat his share of the, I don't went down. Hold on. I suppose I went back up. You must also give to the priest the first share of the grain, the new wine, the olive oil, and the wool at shearing time. For Yahuwah your God chose the tribe of Levi out of all your tribes to minister in Yahuwah's name forever. Suppose a Levite chooses to move from his town in Israel, wherever he is living, to the place Yahuwah chooses for worship. He may minister there in the name of Yahuwah his God, just like all his fellow Levites who are serving Yahuwah there. He may eat his share of the sacrifices and offerings, even if he also receives support from his family. When you enter the land Yahuwah your God is giving you, be very careful not to imitate the detestable customs of the nations living there. For example, never sacrifice your son or daughter as a burnt offering. And do not let your people practice fortune telling, or use sorcery, or interpret omens, or engage in witchcraft, or cast spells, or function as mediums or psychics, or call forth the spirits of the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to Yahuwah. It is because the other nations have done these detestable things that Yahuwah your God will drive them out ahead of you. But you must be blameless before Yahuwah your God. The nations you are about to displace consult sorcerers and fortune tellers, but Yahuwah your God forbids you to do such things. Remember that, people. If you've ever done that, you need to repent. Moses continued, Yahuwah your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among your fellow Israelites. You must listen to him. For this is what you yourselves requested of Yahuwah your God when you were assembled at Mount Sinai. You said, don't let us hear the voice of Yahuwah our God anymore, or see this blazing fire, for we will die. Then Yahuwah said to me, what they have said is right. I will raise up a prophet like you from among their fellow Israelites. I will put my words in his mouth, and he will tell the people everything I command them. I will personally deal with anyone who will not listen to the message from the prophet. I will personally deal with anyone who will not listen to the messages the prophet proclaims on my behalf. Listen here. But if any prophet who falsely claims to speak in my name or who speaks in the name of another God must die. But you may wonder, how will we know whether or not a prophecy is from Yahuwah? If the prophet speaks in Yahuwah's name, but his prediction does not happen or come true, you will know that Yahuwah did not give that message. That prophet has spoken without my authority and need not be feared. And this is where we end today. Deuteronomy chapter 18. So we'll pick this up here tomorrow. So let's go ahead on over here. Remember, smaller size. We are now in chapter 5. In chapter 5. Yep. We're in chapter 5, and the title is Moses Pleads in Vain with Korah. So remember, like what we just read today, Korah stood up before the people, hyping them up, talking about some Moses. Look, Moses only giving us these laws. So he said, I knew this old woman, it was her and her daughter. And she only had this, but then Moses gave these laws and said, you got to give this all the way up to she done sold all her stuff and she just bought some sheep and she decided to use the wool that she sheared for her sheep. Here come Aaron telling us, the first part of the wool belongs to us, right? So the way he told this story got the people hyped up and pissed off at Moses and Aaron, so much so that they wanted to kill them. They tried to stone them to death, right? So Moses, in his humility and his soul wanting Yahuwah not to annihilate them, kept pleading to Yahuwah to just forgive their sins, right? But Yahuwah said, that I done had just about enough. So we're going into more detail with Moses pleading with Korah before he himself is punished. Remember, because the ground is about to open up and swallow him, all those who joined with them, and their entire families and everything that belonged to them. Listen, Moses pleads in vain with Korah. Moses took Korah's transgression much to heart, for he thought to himself that perhaps after the many sins of Israel, he might not succeed in obtaining Yahuwah's pardon for them. He did not, therefore, have this matter decided immediately, but admonished the people to wait until the following day, having a lingering hope that Korah's horde, given time for calm reflection, might themselves perceive their sin, to which an excess of drink might have carried them away. Hence he said to them, I may not now appear before Yahuwah, for although he partakes of neither food nor drink, he still will not judge such actions of ours as we have committed after feasting and reveling. But tomorrow Yahuwah will show who are his. Know ye now that just as Yahuwah has set definite bounds in nature between day and night, between light and darkness, so also has he separated Israel from the other nations, and so also has he separated Aaron from the rest of Israel. If you can obliterate the boundary between light and darkness, then only you remove the boundary of separation between Israel and the rest, but not otherwise. Other nations have many religions, many priests, and worship in many temples, but we have one God, one Torah, one law, one altar, and one high priest, whereas ye are 250 men, each of whom is imbued with the desires of becoming the high priest. As I too should like to be high priest if such a thing were possible. But to prove Aaron's claim to his dignity, this do take your censers, Korah and all his company, and put fire in them, and put incense upon them before Yahuwah tomorrow. The offering of incense is the most pleasant offering before Yahuwah. But for him who hath not been called, this offering holds a deadly poison. It consumed Nadab and Abihu. But I exhort ye not to burden your souls with a deadly sin, for none but the man Yahuwah would choose as high priest out of the number of you will remain alive. All others will pay with their lives at the offering of the incense. Like they didn't even once to think, wait a minute, is Aaron included in here with us too? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and backtrack. I ain't gonna join. Forgive me for all my sins against you, Father, and against the man. Then we all witness Aaron being consecrated to this office, and he's standing in here in this group with us. All of us gonna die. 250 graves need to be done right now. We all just need to sit in them. Listen, hold on. Let's just go back up. But to prove Aaron's claim to his dignity, do this: take your censers, Korah and all his company, and put fire therein, and put incense upon them before Yahuwah tomorrow. The offering of incense is the most pleasant offering before Yahuwah. But for him who have not been called, this offering holds a deadly poison, for it consumed Nadab and Abihu. But I exhort ye not to burden your souls with a deadly sin, for none but the man Yahuwah will choose as high priest out of the number of you will remain alive. All others will pay with their lives at the offering of the incense. These last words of Moses, however, far from restraining them, only strengthened Korah in his resolve to accomplish his undertaking, for he felt sure that Yahuwah would choose him and no other. And how many rogue people among Israel feel this way? Like they're absolutely sure that the Most Holy is talking to them, right? Like all of us need to be included, because we all could get off, myself included. And daily I pray, Father, keep me close to you, that I'm not deceived at any point. And if there is something in me this day that I got wrong or needs to be changed, let me know. And if it's something not been said, let me know like now so I can correct it, so don't nobody else get off, right? And so it's like daily we gotta make sure we checking in with him daily, just like kings are to check in daily. They are required to keep a copy of the law on their person at all times, right? Like I didn't even know that, like when I was in the military, and I'm not saying that I'm a king, but you would never find me without the scriptures on me. And that was the New Testament that I had, right? I had it. I kept, the little small, the Gideon, I think it's the Gideon versions of the Bible. I had that, and I kept it with me while I was in uniform. I kept it in my pocket. I would walk around. That was a part of my uniform. I would get up, I get dressed, I get it, and I put it in my pocket. And I didn't just put it there for show. Like anytime I went on break or would get a chance to, I would be off on or something reading, So that's how the priest should be. It would keep them from going astray or becoming a rogue, because what the king does, everybody else gonna do. If you're a rogue king, all your people gonna be rogue, right? Just like the book of Kings said, and all the people did what was right in their own eyes, right? And they had gotten so bad, you who wiped out all the kings, and there was no king at this time, and all the people did what was right in their own eyes, because every time they got a king, they turned away from the good way. With the exception of a couple, Josiah, they came upon the scriptures, the Torah. They said, wait, we supposed to be doing this? Everybody need to repent, but then you have another king. We found the scrolls, the Torah. This king, like, let me see, and every day read it off, slice every time they get a little bit past the scroll they were reading, slice it off, throw it into the fire. You done? Jeremiah went back, he done threw the whole scroll in the fire. Write it again. Take it back. The king paid for that with his life. Like, I'm just telling y'all gotta keep Yahuwah first. Consult him daily, especially if you're not necessarily a king right now in the position of a king, but if you're a leader in any kind of way, this also applies to you, whether that be of your household, your business, your position of leadership on your job, like, because you have to learn how to rule Yahuwah's people righteously, even if they put you in positions over a heathen kingship like Daniel and different other ones. You still have to be hearing from Yahuwah clearly, because those who love Yahuwah that are under the wicked heathen system, they need to be able to hear clearly, and somebody needs to be in leadership that's going to stand up for what's right, so everybody else has an example. Okay, we're gonna follow Daniel. We're gonna do what Daniel doing. Although the king say we might be thrown into the fire, we're not gonna bow to this, right? So just saying. Although Daniel wasn't there, the 3 Hebrew boys who had been under his tutelage, rocking with him, keeping the commands of the Most High, they also got to keep their life because it was able to stand firm. Shalom, Josiah. Okay. These last words of Moses, however, far from restraining them, only strengthened Korah in his resolve to accomplish his undertaking, for he felt sure that Yahuwah would choose him and none other. He had a prophetic presentiment that he was destined to be the forefather of prophets and temple singers, and for this reason thought he was specifically favored by Yahuwah. Moses perceived that Korah was irreclaimable. He directed the rest of his warning to those other Levites, the men of Korah's tribe, who he feared would join Korah in his rebellion. He admonished them to be satisfied with the honors Yahuwah had granted them and not to strive for priestly dignity. He concluded his speech with the last appeal to Korah to cause no schism in Israel, saying, had Aaron arbitrarily assumed the priestly dignity, you would do right to withstand his presumption. But it was Yahuwah, whose attributes are sublimity, strength, and sovereignty, who clothed Aaron with this dignity, so that those who are against Aaron are in reality against Yahuwah. Korah made no answer to all these words, thinking that the best course for him to follow would be to avoid picking an argument with so great a sage as Moses, feeling sure that in such a dispute he should be worsened and, contrary to his own conviction, be forced to yield to Moses. But he's just like, I'm just going to keep quiet. We're going to see tomorrow. And Moses trying to save your life. Moses, seeing that it was useless to reason with Korah, sent a messenger to Dathan and Abiram, summoning them to appear before his court. He did this because the law required that the accused be summoned to appear before the judge. Before the judgment, they may be passed upon. Before the judgment may be passed upon him. And Moses did not wish these men to be punished without a hearing. These, however, made answer to the messenger sent by Moses. We will not come up. Oh my gosh. This shameless answer held an unconscious prophecy. They went not up, but as their end showed, go down to hell. Not only, moreover, did they refuse to comply with Moses' demand, they sent the following message to Moses instead. Why dost thou set up thyself as master over us? What benefit did thou bring to us? Thou didst lead us out of Egypt, a land like the garden of Yahuwah, but has not brought us to Canaan, leaving us in the wilderness where we are daily visited by the plague. Even in Egypt did thou try to assume the leadership, just as thou dost not. Thou did beguile the people in their exodus from Egypt, when thou did promise to lead them to a land of milk and honey. In their delusion, they followed thee and were disappointed. Now dost thou attempt to persuade us as thou did persuade them, but thou shalt not succeed, for we will not come and obey thy summons. They stuck in a wilderness because they disobeyed Yahuwah, right? Yahuwah said, look, I wanted to take the man a whole lot sooner, but they did all this, so now they can't go in. So turn them around. Everybody, head back to the sea. The shamelessness of these two men who declined even to talk about their transgression with Moses aroused his wrath to the uttermost. For a man does not get a certain amount of For a man does get a certain amount of satisfaction out of discussing the dispute with his opponent, whereas he feels badly if he cannot discuss the matter. In his anger, he said to Yahuwah, O Lord of the world, I will know that these sinners participate in the offerings of the congregation that were offered for all of Israel. But as they have withdrawn themselves from the community, accept not their share of the offering, and let it not be consumed by the heavenly fire. It was I whom they treated so. I took no money from the people for my labors, even when payment was my due. It is customary for anyone who works for the sanctuary to receive pay for his work. But I traveled to Egypt upon my own ass and took none of theirs, although I undertook the journey in their interest. It is customary for those that have a dispute to go before a judge, but I did not wait for this, and I went straight to them to settle their disputes, never declaring the innocent guilty or the guilty innocent. When he now perceived that his words had left no effect upon Korah and his horde, he concluded his words with a treat to the ringleaders. Be thou and all thy company before Yahuwah, thou and they and Aaron tomorrow. Korah spent the night before the judgment in trying to win over the people to his side and succeeded in doing so. He went to all the other tribes, saying to them, do not think I am seeking a position of honor for myself. No, I wish only that this honor may fall to the lot of each in turn, whereas Moses is now king and his brother high priest. On the following morning, all the people, and not Korah's original company alone, appeared before the tabernacle and began to pick quarrels with Moses and Aaron. Moses now feared that Yahuwah would destroy all the people because they had joined Korah. Hence, he said to Yahuwah, O Lord of the world, if a nation rebels against a king of flesh and blood because 10 or 20 men have cursed the king or his ambassadors, then sends his host to massacre the inhabitants of the land, innocent as well as guilty, for he is not able with all certainty to tell which among them honored the king and which among them cursed him. But thou knowest the thought of man, and whether his heart and kidneys counsel him to do. The workings of thy creatures' minds lie open before thee, so that thou knowest who has the spirit of each one. So that thou knowest who had the spirit of each one. Shall one man sin, and wilt thou be wroth with all the congregation? Yahuwah hereupon said to Moses, I have heard the prayer for the congregation. Say then to them, get you up about the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Moses did not immediately carry out these instructions, for he tried once again to warn Dathan and Abiram of the punishment impending upon them, but they refused to give heed to Moses and remained within their tents. Now Moses said, I have done all I could do and can do nothing more. Hence, turning to the congregation, he said, depart, I pray you, from the tents of these wicked men, that even in their youth deserve death as a punishment for their actions. In Egypt, they betrayed the secret of my slaying an Egyptian. At the Red Sea, it was they that angered Yahuwah by their desire to return to Egypt. In Alush, they broke the Sabbath, and now they troop together to rebel against Yahuwah. They now well deserve excommunication and the destruction of all their property. Touch therefore nothing of theirs, lest ye be consumed in all their sins. The community obeyed the words of Moses and drew back from the dwellings of Dathan and Abiram. These, not at all cowed, they were not restrained in their wicked intention, but stood at the doors of their tents, abusing the calumniating hold on. But stood at the doors of their tents, abusing and calumniating Moses. Moses hereupon said to Yahuwah, if these men die upon their deads like all men, after physicians have attended to them and acquaintances have visited them, then shall I publicly avow that Yahuwah hath not sent me to do these works, but that I have done them all of my own mind. Yahuwah replied, what wilt thou have me to do? Moses, if Yahuwah hath already provided the earth with a mouth to swallow them, it is well. If not, I pray thee, do so now. Yahuwah said, thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee. Moses was not the only one to insist upon exemplary punishment of the horde of Korah. Sun and moon appeared before Yahuwah, saying, if thou givest satisfaction to the son of Amram, we shall set out on our course around the world, but not otherwise. Yahuwah, however, hurled lightnings after them, that they might not go about their duties, saying to them, you have never championed my cause, but you will stand up for creature and flesh. You have never championed my cause, but you will stand up for a creature of flesh and blood. Since that time, the sun and moon have always been driven. Since that time, sun and moon have always to be driven to duty, never doing it voluntarily because they do not wish to look upon the sins of man upon the earth. Korah and his horde punished. Yahuwah did not gainsay satisfaction of his faithful servant. The mouth of hell approached the spot upon which Dathan, Abiram, and their families stood, and the ground under their feet grew so precipitous that they were not able to stand upright, but rolled to the opening and went quickly into the pit. Not these wicked people alone were swallowed by the earth, but their possessions also. Even their linen that was the launderer's, or a pen belonging to them, rolled toward the mouth of the earth and vanished there. Nowhere upon the earth remained a trace of them or their possessions, and even their names disappeared from documents upon which they were written. They did not, however, meet an immediate death, but sank gradually into the earth, the opening of which adjusted itself to the girth of each individual. The lower extremities disappeared first, then the opening widened, and the abdomen, that's the word, then abdomen followed, until in this way the entire body was swallowed. While they were sinking thus slowly and painfully, they continued to cry, Moses is truth, and his Torah is truth. We acknowledge that Moses is rightful king and true prophet, and that Aaron is legitimate high priest, and that the Torah has been given by Yahuwah. And it seemed like they sinking in hot quicksand to me. Could have been something else, just to be the ground swallowed, but he had softened and adjusted to their body shapes to take them in. While they were sinking thus slowly and painfully, they continued to cry, Moses is truth, and his Torah is truth. We acknowledge that Moses is rightful king and true prophet, that Aaron is legitimate high priest, and that the Torah has been given by Yahuwah. Now deliver us, O our teacher Moses. These words were audible throughout the entire camp, so that all might be convinced of the wickedness of Korah's undertaking. Without regard to these followers of Korah, who were swallowed up by the earth, 250 men had offered incense with Aaron, found their death in the heavenly fire that came down upon their offerings and consumed them. But he who met with the most terrible form of death was Korah. Consumed at the incense offering, he then rolled up in the shape of a ball of fire to the opening of the earth and vanished. There was a reason for this double punishment of Korah. He had had he received punishment by burning alone, then those who had been swallowed by the earth and those and who had failed to see Korah smitten by the same punishment would have complained about Yahuwah's injustice, saying, "It was Korah who plunged us into destruction, yet he himself escaped it." Had he, on the other hand, been swallowed by the earth without meeting death by fire, then those whom the fire had consumed would have complained about Yahuwah's injustice that permitted the author of their destruction to go unpunished. Now, however, both those who perished by fire and those who were swallowed up by the earth witnessed their leaders share in their punishment. So he got swallowed up by the earth and he was punished with fire. This terrible death did not, however, suffice to atone for the sins of Korah and his company, for their punishment continues in hell. They are tortured in hell, and at the end of 30 days, hell again cast them up near to the surface of the earth, on the spot where they had been swallowed. Whoever on that day puts his ear to the ground upon that spot hears the cry, "Moses is true, and his Torah is true, but we are liars." Not until after the resurrection will their punishment cease. For even in spite of their grave sin, they were not given over to eternal damnation. Now, when I read this, and I heard this first as I was listening to it, and I was like, "What?" And as soon as I got, because I was driving, so I say, "Wait, what?" As soon as I got back to the house, I got my book and I opened up just to make sure I was reading, like it lined up with what I was hearing. I was like, "Wait a minute." So it also made me think about something. I'm not sure if y'all ever seen some of these documentaries on like the Discovery Channel, other different places, and even people now putting little video clips. And I'm not exactly sure where they say it, but I'm sure you guys heard of it. Some people said they can hear voices like crying from the ground, and I'm like, and that's what I immediately thought about. I was like, I wonder if that is this. I wonder if that's Korah and his horde crying out, right? And you even see some scientists that they go dig and they put microphones and stuff down there and they record sounds, and it sounds like people screaming and crying out. It makes me wonder. Let me go. Hold on. Let me just go back up here. This terrible death did not, however, suffice to atone for the sins of Korah and his company, for their punishment continues in hell. They are tortured in hell, and at the end of 30 days, hell again casts them up near to the surface of the earth, on the spot where they have been swallowed. Whoever on that day puts his ear to the ground upon that spot hears the cries, "Moses is truth and his Torah is true, but we are liars." Not until after the resurrection will their punishment cease, for even in spite of their grave sin, they were not given over to eternal damnation. For a time, Korah and his company believed that they should never know relief from these tortures of hell. But Hannah's words encouraged them not to despair. In reference to them, she announced the prophecy, "Yahuwah bringeth low to Sheol and lifteth up." At first, they had no real faith in this prophecy, but when Yahuwah destroyed the temple and sank its portals deep into the earth until they reached hell, Korah and his company clung to the portals, saying, "If these portals return again upward, then through them shall we also return upward." Yahuwah hereupon appointed them as the keepers of these portals, over which they would have to stand guard until they return to the upper world. Where we at? Okay. We'll go ahead and read this next section. On and the 3 sons of Korah saved. Yahuwah punished discord severely, for although the decree of heaven does not otherwise punish anyone below 20 years of age, at Korah's rebellion, at Korah's rebellion, the earth swallowed alive even children that were only a day old, men, women, and children all together. Out of all the company of Korah and their families, only 4 persons escaped ruin, to wit, On, the son of Peleth, and Korah's 3 sons. As it was Korah's wife through her inciting words, plunged her husband into destruction. Boy, I tell you about these vagabond wives people got, getting them into all kinds of trouble since day one. Women, get together. Stop it. As it was Korah's wife who, through her inciting words, plunged her husband into destruction, so to his wife does On owe his salvation. So to his wife does On owe his salvation. Truly, to these two women applies the proverb, every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her own hands. On whose abilities had won him distinction far beyond that of his father, had originally joined Korah's rebellion. When he arrived home and spoke of it to his wife, she said to him, what benefit shalt thou reap from it? Either Moses remains master and thou art his disciple, or Korah becomes master and thou art his disciple. On saw the truth of this argument, but declared that he felt it incumbent upon himself to adhere to Korah because he had given him his oath, which he could not now take back. His wife quieted him, however, entreating him to stay at home. To be quite sure of him, however, she gave him wine to drink, whereupon he fell into a deep sleep of intoxication. Intoxication. His wife now salvation, saying to herself, all the congregation are holy, and being such, they will approach no woman whose hair is uncovered. Hold on, let me read this again. Hold on. His wife quieted him, however, entreating him to stay at home. To be quite sure of him, however, she gave him wine to drink, whereupon he fell into a deep sleep of intoxication. His wife now carried out her works of salvation, saying to herself, all the congregation are holy, and being such, they will approach no woman whose hair is uncovered. She now showed herself at the door of the tent with streaming hair, and when no one out of the company of Korah, She now showed herself at the door of the tent with streaming hair, and whenever one out of the company of Korah about to go to On saw the woman in this condition, he started back, and owing to this schemer husband had no part. And owing to this schemer husband had no part in the rebellion. Okay, I get the words. Okay. So she understood that men may not approach a woman with her hair uncovered. So she took she got her husband drunk because she was like, apparently you not keeping to the commands. We not letting this happen to our household. This was his daddy. Korah was his father. She said, no, listen, either you gonna follow Moses, what he said, or you gonna follow Korah, what he said. But he had this sense of loyalty, because he had given when he got into office, he gave his oath to Korah. So he felt he needed, not just because he was his father, but because his oath of ministry he had given to him. So he felt the need that he needed to be faithful to Korah, right? Not that he really wanted to, because we can tell he was conflicted, right? But thank y'all for this wife, right? She started thinking, okay, now I know they're going to try and come get him. First of all, we need to subdue my husband because he ain't thinking straight, Father. He needs your help. What can we do so he don't leave out of here? She gave him some wine, good meal, go ahead and eat, baby. Drink some of this. He got drunk, fell asleep, right? Boom. So now that he's asleep, we got him here. What can I do next? She started thinking about the law. Okay, no man can approach a woman with her head uncovered. So she knew that he owned messing with somebody. Go get on. Somebody, every time somebody went to go get him, his wife stood at the tent with her hair uncovered. And so they know they shouldn't approach a woman with her hair uncovered. She thus, on another level, saved her husband from this destruction, right? They saw her uncovered, and it said they each began to back away. So nobody was able to go into his house. I read it again, and we'll keep going. Listen. His wife quieted him, however, entreating him to stay at home. To be quite sure of him, however, she gave him wine to drink, whereupon he fell into a deep sleep of intoxication. His wife now carried out her work of salvation, saying to herself, all the congregation are holy, and being such, they will approach no woman whose hair is uncovered. She now showed herself at the door of the tent with streaming hair. And whenever one out of the company of Korah about to go to On saw the woman in this condition, he started back. And owing to this scheme, her husband had no, I just reword it like that. That's what it means. And owing to this scheme, her husband had no part in the rebellion. When the earth opened to swallow Korah's company, the bed on which On still slept began to rock and to roll began to rock and to roll to the opening in the earth. On's wife, however, seized it, saying, O Lord of the world, my husband made a solemn vow never again to take part in dissensions. Thou that livest endures to all eternity, canst punish him hereafter if he ever prove false to his vow. Yahuwah heard her plea, and On was saved, right? Listen, there's a whole lot of instances when women cry out to the Most Holy, and Yahuwah hears their cry, and their families are saved, their husbands are saved, right? A lot of that stuff has been removed, and women have been oppressed. Like Yahuwah looks at us like an afterthought, and he surely does not, right? He hears our cries, especially when our intent is to keep his commands and make sure our family is safe. Oh, that these things were canonized. But those who canonized had a very, very, very specific plan in what they were doing, right? Listen. Thou that livest and endures to all eternity cannot punish him hereafter, even if he proves false to his vow. Yahuwah heard her plea, and On was saved. She now requested On to go to Moses, but he refused, for he was ashamed to look into Moses' face after he had rebelled against him. His wife then went to Moses in his stead. Moses at first evaded her, for he wished to have nothing to do with women, but as she wept and lamented bitterly, she was admitted and told Moses all that had occurred. He now accompanied her to her house, at the entrance of which he cried. At the entrance of which he cried, On, the son of Peleth, step forward. Yahuwah will forgive thee thy sins. It is with reference to this miraculous deliverance and to his life spent in doing penance that this former fellow of Korah was called On, the penitent, son of Peleth, miracle. His true name was Nemuel, the son of Eliad, a brother of Dathan and Abiram. More marvelous still than that of On was the salvation of Korah's 3 sons. When the earth yawned to swallow Korah and his company, these cried, Help us, Moses. The Shekinah hereupon said, If these men were to repent, they should be saved. Repentance do I desire, and none else. Korah's 3 sons now simultaneously determined to repent of their sin, but could not open their mouth, for round about them burnt fire, and below them gaped hell. Yahuwah was, however, satisfied with their good thought, and in the sight of all of Israel for their salvation, a pillar arose in hell, upon which they seated themselves. There they did sit and sing praises and song to Yahuwah, sweeter than ever mortal ear had ever heard, so that Moses and all of Israel hearkened to them eagerly. They were furthermore distinguished by Yahuwah in receiving from him the prophetic gift, and they then announced in their songs events that were to occur in the future world. They said, Fear not the day on which Yahuwah will take hold of the ends of the earth, and the wicked be shaken out of it. For the pious will cling to the throne of glory and will find protection under the wings of the Shekinah. Whoo, boy, it just give me goosebumps. Fear not, ye pious men, the day of judgment, For the judgment day of sinners will have as little power over you as it had over us when all the others perished and we were saved. So no matter what start going on in these days, when Yahuwah is shaking the earth from end to end, shaking out the wicked, those who can be shaken will be shaken. Those who can be taken shall be taken. But we are going to cling to the glory of the Most Holy and His words. Save us. And He is. All right, y'all. So that was good. So tomorrow we'll pick up here and we'll finish out this story. So that remember Korah and his horde. Anytime y'all think about doing shenanigans, right? All right, y'all. So we read Deuteronomy 16, 17, and 18, and we read Legends of the Jews, page 331 to 334. It is Monday, February the 22nd, 2021. Did I have the day? I don't know that I did. I don't think I did. But anyway, it's Monday, February the 22nd, 2021, day 84 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, it is day 753. All right, beautiful people. I'm going to remember to post the Michael Klapper video, and I said something else. I said something. I'm going to have to go back and watch the video and see what it was I said. I had to do that. So forgive me, y'all. If I forget to put some up that I said I was going to put up there, either I didn't write it down or I didn't have a chance to go back and review the video to hear what I said. Sometimes my days just, they get away from me. So forgive me ahead of time. I'm sorry, y'all. But I'm going to make sure I put that up here. Okay, y'all. Remember the blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember the Nazarite vow? It's the first 21 verses. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. I'm going to check real quick. No questions over on Facebook. Nothing more on YouTube. All right. Okay. All right, y'all. Well, that's it for today. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and I will see y'all bright and early in the morning. Remember, Passover coming up. Start getting some of them yeast products out your house, y'all, so you don't wait till the last day to do it. It's a good practice to keep. So practice keeping Yahuwah's commands, y'all. All right, with that being said, I love y'all. See you in the morning. Peace.